GTOs, Challengers, Chargers, Mustangs, Challengers. The list is endless. Let's have a look, see what I chose for my top 5 favourite muscle cars. Help! What is a muscle car? Yeah, a muscle car is a car with a big engine up front, V8 power. We're looking at over 300 cubic inches. It's got a 2-door configuration and at least room for 5 people. Back in 1949, the first muscle car was built. It was known as the Rocket. In 1955, there was a massive accident at Le Mans. This killed racing in America till 1963. Right in front of you now, we've got some cars that just about made it into that category. Before 1955, we've got the 54 Dodge Coronet, and we've got a 1954 Chevy Bel Air. But the rest of these cars, they're like wannabe racers. The manufacturers were going crazy in America, making lightweight, high power performance cars, but they had nowhere to put them. So gradually the weight came back on again. One car of note from the 1950s period is the Chrysler 300C, the first car to carry what is known as the V8 Hemi, and this car was possibly the fastest car available. Behind we see some cars that were trickling out in 1964, just after the reintroduction of the racing scene, and we've got ourselves a 500C Galaxie. Now this big old heavy car was big enough to carry the V8 and was developed and tuned and modified. It's not until 1964 that we see the introduction from GM of the Chevelle on the A-Class platform, and this particular platform was the basis used by Pontiac to build their infamous GTO. Now the GTO stormed the market. Gran Turismo amalgamation, yes, it really did upset the Ferrari people, and in the furore really set the GTO up as possibly the first true production muscle car. Another car that Ford were very proud of was their Thunderbolt, which also carried the V8 engine and also carried them around the racetrack. The Ford Thunderbolt. Now yes, you can see it's got 2 doors. It's got space in there for a family of 4. It's got space in the boot there just to shove in some luggage. Fantastic styling on the rear end. But really, was this the car that the young man wanted to drive around in the 1960s? Hell no. No, they wanted a Mustang. So Ford came up with this design here, the fastback Mustang. They'd already built the open top model. This fastback design and the concept of the pony car revolutionized a segment of the American market and really took off in flames. But really, the early Mustangs didn't really have the power to really truly call themselves a muscle car. And it wasn't really until Carroll Shelby came along and reintroduced the Shelby Mustang that the Mustang formula was born as a true muscle car in 1967 onwards. Well, what were Mercury doing whilst Ford were building the Mustang? Yep, they were knocking out the Cougar. And here we see the early Cougar, the 1967-68 model. Plush, not particularly fast, but looking really good. And if we look inside, there's plenty of space there for a family and plenty of room to call this a potential muscle car. So that's exactly what Mercury did. Here we see somebody's efforts here to make what could only be called a street rod. But in 1968 we see the emergence of a truly powerful Cougar, and these were used initially on the racetrack and to good performance as well. And then here we see a very nice performance model with upgraded V8 power. But really, if you wanted to go all out with the Cougar, you wanted to go and buy the XR7, and the XR7 also runs affectionately by the name of the Eliminator. And the Eliminator dominated the Mercury scene, not by mass production but just by sheer performance up until about 1971. So the standard Cougar though did see some good life, and behind we see some 1970 examples just there. looking hot and mean and heavy. And what were GM doing while Ford were pushing forward with pony power? Yeah, they were continuing with big muscle. We see the Chevelle moving forward in 1967 with slightly longer, more swooshing lines, and these were also carried forward into their Oldsmobile range. We see here with a nice long boot on the back, fantastic piece. So 1969, another upgrade in the styling department. We see a pointy front end pushed onto the front of the 442, and again that same pointy end just pushed on slightly on that GTO. Here I think the GTO Judge starts to lose some of its character and becomes more of a sibling to its Chevelle counterpart. And this Chevelle is absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, it's got quite a few of the lines there. The GTO, again, just trying to be a little bit more sporty, given its Pontiac nature. And 1971, we see the introduction of a slightly upgraded Pontiac GTO with fins and a nice new pointy front end on there. But really, the design process has slowed down somewhat, and the Chevelle line continues to develop and grow. And this is the 1971 Chevelle SS, an absolute beast. And 1971 really sees the end of muscle car development as we know it. The introduction of higher fuel prices, legislations in car design really changed the face of the muscle car industry and make it very hard for the average working guy and family to own such a beast. And so by 1974 there's a massive reduction in muscle car production. What were GM doing about pony power? Well, they did this. They built a Camaro. In 1967 they pulled the stops out and produced the Camaro. Now this is a 1968 model, probably one of the classic examples of pony power from GM. And how did they get there? With a smaller car. Now they used here's a Chevy 2 from 1963, a fine example of some V8 action that was being produced by GM back in those days. And this short chassis lent itself well to the very classic and well-known Chevy Nova. What were Chrysler doing during the period of madness known as muscle car mayhem in the 1960s and pony power? Well, for pony power they produced the Plymouth Barracuda, and here we have it in all its V8 madness. The Barracuda continued development. I'm not sure if you can quite fit the family in there, but I'm sure you could if you squeezed them in. And here we have some more Barracudas here from 1970, a very nice example. From 1971, the last of the Barracudas, as far as I know, is this one here. I'm sure it continued on in some other guys at some other point, but there we have the pinnacle of Barracuda excellence. So we've got Challengers, we've got Dusters, we've got Darts, we've also another Challenger back here. We've got AMC Javelins, and all these beautiful little cars are all powered by V8, and they're all pony power extreme. Well, in 1967 we see the emergence of the Dodge Charger, and doesn't she look interesting? And looking at those lines there, you can see them mimicked slightly in the its sibling stablemate, the Plymouth GTX from the very same period. There, we haven't quite got to the Coke bottle stage of existence yet, and that was exemplified to extremes in the 1969 version of this car, the Dodge Charger, the one that we know and love from all the films and the movies and the TV programs that featured her. Absolute beauty and very hard to ignore. So 1969 to 1970-71, that car is developed to its extreme and ends up looking like this. They've got rid of those little enclosed headlamps there, kept the basic overall shape, and of note here is the rear window that's been filled in. And the reason being was that on these earlier cars they noted that there was a vortex created by having these this recessed window arrangement that actually slowed the car down. So they put this window on, and then not only do they do that, but they throw a wing on the back, chuck some stuff up the front, and they produce the Dodge Daytona, especially for the racetrack, and again produced for the road in amalgamation. And Plymouth was doing the same thing. Here we see the Plymouth Superbird, a very, very cool car indeed. Now the next car up we have from Dodge Charger is this, the Dodge Charger from 1971. An absolute beauty, really. Very, very nice car. Continuing with some of those lines that were made famous from the original Dodge from 69, but with some good 70s touches. And we can also see that in the GTX variation here that followed alongside. As there she is again with a fin. A quick mention to the Super Bee, absolute beast and very, very famous. And here's the most famous version of that in yellow with the black stripe with the bee on the back.